Welcome to the channel, guys. Today I'm going to be giving you a brand new updated houseplant tour. This is a philodendron imperial green and it's getting quite big now. I've actually just repotted this one, but the leaves do get quite big on this one, as you can see. And yeah, it's on this table at the moment because it doesn't really fit anywhere else. It kind of needs a lot of space for those leaves, but I really do like this one. It's quite jungly. It kind of gives you that indoor jungle vibe with these big glossy green leaves. And hopefully after its repot it will start to put out a new leaf. It is having a go there, so I'm looking forward to seeing this one thrive. And it was getting some, you can see there on that leaf there's a little bit of yellowing there. Well, it's sort of browning off. That was happening, I think, because I was being inconsistent with the watering, and now that I've been more consistent it has actually stopped. Yeah, this plant doesn't like it when you're inconsistent with the watering. Also, it did need repotting, so that may well have affected it without me realising, but we're all good now. Over here on the windowsill I have the Croton Petra, and this is a fairly recent one. It's got that really nice variegation on the leaves. I've got this one right in the window where it can get plenty of light, and so far it's doing well. It hasn't actually dropped any leaves since I got it, and I have repotted it and it's looking nice and healthy. I was a little bit concerned that it might drop some leaves, but it hasn't yet, so far so good on this one. But yeah, I really like the yellow, red, orange variegation on this one. You don't see that very often on plants, so that's really nice. Then over here I have a fishbone cactus, so I'm just going to move over here so you can see better. Just pop it there. This one I kind of got towards the end of summer last year, and it was just very small, just a few very small plants that I popped in the same pot. And so this year it will be nice to see this one coming into its own. It did grow some new growth, as you can see, over winter, but as with all plants, the growth usually gets quicker during the spring and summer months, so I shall definitely look forward to seeing this one thrive. And the leaves on this one are really cool. They're a kind of zigzag shape, which I really like, and it's also a really nice shade of green as well. It's kind of like a really luminescent green. And this is a little baby English ivy. This is a fairly new plant that I recently got. It's just a little tot at the moment. I haven't actually repotted this one yet, but I like the variegation on the leaves on this one. And yeah, it's just one of those cool plants to have in the background. I think this one eventually will start to trail, and I'm planning on using it to sort of fill a space where I need a hanging plant, but we will need to wait for it to grow first. You can see there is some new growth there. It's got some tiny cute little baby leaves coming up. Then we have this Monstera siltopicana, and I recently propagated from this one. Got it in this pot at the moment because it has a hanging vine there, you can see. So I thought it looked quite nice to have the vine kind of hanging out of the pot, and then you've got the foliage up here too where it's growing. And the great thing about this one is the really nice silvery colour on the leaves. It's really pretty. And the reason I propagated this one is because if I take you around here, you can see there's a little bit of space here in the pot, and my plan is to put some more cuttings into here. So at the moment we do have this lovely vine coming out. As I say, I thought that looked really nice, kind of cascading from the pot, but it would be nice if we had a few more as well. So then this is a snake plant. And I've recently moved this one into a bit of a higher light area to hopefully get some new growth on it. I did take some cuttings too, you can kind of see down there where I've taken them. And I've been giving this one, as I say, some extra light to encourage it to grow some more. Because even though these guys do survive in lower light, they actually prefer higher light if you can give it to them. So I thought I'd give this one more light this year and hopefully encourage some new growth on it. Next we have this bird of paradise. This one's growing quite nicely, as you can see. This was just a little baby tot when I got it, so it's grown quite a bit, and you can see here there are some new leaves coming through there. There's one there, and I believe there are 2 plants in this pot. The other one is also putting out a new leaf just there. So that's exciting, and I think this plant might actually need a repot again, because I have seen the roots coming out of the pot when I water, and also it's drying out a little too quickly. This one is a super fast grower for me. I've already repotted it at least twice, and it just keeps going. Bird of Paradise does get very big eventually, so eventually this is going to become a large plant. But this is just one of those great plants that is a staple really in my collection. Easy to look after, never gives me any trouble, and eventually it will be a good statement piece once it gets big. Got it in this pot at the moment. I recently changed the pot just to change it up a bit, and I think it looks quite nice in this. Coming over here to the top of my plant shelf, in the middle there I have a little Monstera Adansonii, and I'm very attached to this little guy. He's one of my favourites. He started growing again for this year. Got a nice new leaf there, you see the light coloured one. So he's doing really well at the moment. And then over here we have the Raven ZZ plant. And I've moved this one a little bit closer to the window so that it can get a bit more light and do some more growing. Because again, ZZ plants are known for being tolerant of lower light, but they do prefer bright and direct light. If you can give it to them, they will grow better that way. And then over here I have my Monstera Deliciosa cutting. It's a 2-leaf cutting and it's in the water at the moment. And it has actually started rooting in there. I don't know if you can see, there's a little root there. It hasn't actually been in there for long, so I'm glad that it started to root. That's a really good sign. And then moving down here, where should we go first? Over here is my Alocasia Polly. And this one still hasn't put out any new leaves for me yet since I've had it. It does seem to be doing okay. It did recently lose a leaf, which is fairly normal, but no new leaves yet. I'm hoping that it will at some point get a new leaf. That would be really nice, because I would like to see it thrive and grow. I really do like this plant. It's kind of got a waxy look and texture to it, which I really like. And this green, light green veination on it, I really like that. And next to that, I have the Syngonium tricolour. And this was from the rescue section in the garden centre. One of the plants in there did actually kind of die. I managed to get a wet stick out of it. It kind of just dropped off. I've popped that one into soil, but this plant here, the other plant that's in here, seems to be okay at the moment, so I'm hoping this one thrives and continues to put out healthy growth. But that's the risk you take if you rescue a plant. Sometimes it might be successful, sometimes it might not, but I do have high hopes for this plant, and hopefully I can bring it back to health. But we'll see. And then at the back there you can see I've got a Sansevieria fernwood, this one that looks like kind of spindly fingers, and you can see it's got that kind of stripy veination on it, stripy variegation I mean to say. This is another one that's fairly new to me. Haven't had this one for too long now, but I really do like it. It's a nice twist on the usual snake plant. It's got these different shaped leaves, which I really like. And then just in front of it here is my Philodendron Pink Princess, another recent purchase, and it's actually putting out a new leaf there at the moment. I'm excited to see whether this is going to be a pink leaf or not. It does look a bit pink at the moment, but we will see. But yeah, these plants are now coming down in price a great deal. You can get them pretty cheap, and they're fairly readily available too. As I say, I just bought this one, just a little baby one, and now just waiting to see how it does. But I'm really excited to see it grow this year, and cannot wait for that new leaf to come out. But philodendrons do take their time with their new leaves, so yeah, it's just a case of hurry up and wait. Then just here I have a pothos just hanging there. This one was just a propagation from last year. It does have some nice variegation on this one actually. You can see there, that one's got some nice variegation. And some of the other leaves as well. This was, as I say, a propagation from last year. It's just hanging out there, not causing any trouble. Pothos is really easy to care for and a classic in anyone's collection. And then over here I have this baby Ficus elastica Belize ruby. Bit of a mouthful there, but it's just a rubber plant really with red variegation on it. This one I got very recently in the middle of winter, so obviously it hasn't grown for me yet, but I'm sure it will start growing very soon. There is a new little leaf popping up in the centre there, you can see. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing this one grow, and it tends to keep this lovely red variegation as it grows as well, so I shall look forward to seeing that. But yeah, I'm always a fan of different varieties of rubber plants, and I had this one on my wish list for a while, so really happy to have this one in my collection. And then coming over here I have this Monstera Adansonii propagation, just propagating here in water. I only took this fairly recently, so it's not going to have any roots yet, but I think it looks quite nice in its little vase there. I will keep you posted on that one. I have every faith that it will root because it did have plenty of nodes and plenty of aerial roots, so yeah, I'm definitely feeling positive about this one rooting for sure. But as I say, you're not going to really see much yet because I only just popped it in there not long ago. But this is one of my favourite plants at the moment, so I've decided I'm just going to make lots and lots of them, because why not? If you like something, why not have lots of it? Then here I have my Philodendron Prince of Orange. Again, another apple of my eye. One of my favourite plants. They're probably all my favourites to be fair, but this one has that really cool orange colour when the leaves first come in. And then they do go into a green, but they keep a sort of tinge of orange as well, which is nice. This one, again, is still fairly new to me. It did get this leaf here when I got it. It was on its way out when I got it. And this leaf here in the middle here, this is the first leaf that I've had from it in my care. So I am quite excited to see that one come out. And this is an upright growing philodendron, because you get the ones that vine and then you get the upright ones. So this will continue to grow in a sort of upright fashion. But I really love also how you get these sort of red stems as well, really nice. And then just coming over here, I have my Ficus elastica teneki. Again, I just love the variegation on this one. This one I believe I got in December, so a few months ago. It was in the middle of winter, so it hasn't grown a great deal, but you can see there's some new growth here. And this one has 3 stems in the pot. They all appear to be getting new leaves just there. And as well as the variegation that you see on this one, the sort of camouflage variegation, they also come in a little bit pink to start with as well when you get a new leaf. You can probably see with that one there. Not sure if it shows up on camera, but there's sort of a bit of a pink tinge to them at first, and then they mature to kind of become this lovely creamy colour around the outside with these different greens as well. Really pretty. Wanted one of these for a while, so I'm very happy to have this one in my collection. And then coming up here is my Alocasia zebrina. This one is doing really well. It's nice and healthy. You can see it's got some really nice leaves on it. You can see that stem there is getting ready to put out a new leaf. But yeah, this plant is definitely one of my top favourites at the moment. I just love it. I was a little worried that I might not be very good at keeping this one alive, but so far so good. It's really healthy. These 2 leaves here are the 2 newest ones. You can see they're kind of a little bit lighter and less hard than the other ones. But of course you've also got that lovely striped stem as well, which is really cool. And the ones that you can see that are green in colour, those are the ones that are getting ready to put out another leaf. They kind of go to the more browny coloured stripes once they put their new leaf out. Yeah, I'm just obsessed with this one. I've moved it here because it does get quite big and take up a lot of space, which is great, I don't mind that, but it just needs a little bit of room to kind of hang out, so to speak. Over there on the wall you can see I've got some propagations, some more Monstera adansonii there, and over there I have some rubber plant propagations. Moving down here is the parent plant that I've taken my propagations from, Monstera adansonii, and this one is a really big boy. I just love this plant. Recently got this. I did make a whole video about it, so I won't bang on about it too much, but suffice to say, this is definitely one of my favourite plants at the moment. And this one is just, as I say, been brilliant for propagating from, because it has so much growth. I'll just zoom out a bit so that you can see the whole thing in the shot. At the moment I've got it on a kind of plant stand, but I do want to find it a nice pot at some point. I just haven't managed to find anything suitable yet, but I just am in love with this plant at the moment. I love the holes in the leaves. Yeah. Over here I have a weeping fig, the Ficus benjamina. I recently gave this one a bit of a prune to take some propagations from it, because doing so does encourage it to branch more and grow more. This one is really easy. For me at least, it's been a super easy to care for plant. I found it to be just really fuss free, provided you don't move it around too much, because they do have a tendency to drop their leaves if you move it to different kind of environments. But if you find a spot it likes, leave it there, keep it lightly moist, give it bright and direct light, and it's happy. At least for me it is. But yeah, just another one of those classic plants, staple of my collection. This is a pothos. And I quite recently started to train this one to grow up this pole. It's still got a ways to go, but it is kind of gradually working its way up. It's looking a little bit bare on the bottom there, but further up we have some more foliage. So maybe I will plant some more plants down in the bottom to fill those gaps. Another thing I considered with this plant is possibly chopping and propping it, just resetting the entire plant, but we'll see. I might give it a bit longer first before I do that. This is the Dieffenbachia compacta, I believe. This one has got that lovely variegation on the leaves there. Kind of speckled, I guess you'd call it. And you can see there's some new leaves in there just coming out. This one is very thirsty, it likes to be watered, and I've also been fertilising it, and it seems to be thriving as a result. It doesn't like to dry out, this one, so if you have one of these, beware. They are known for dropping their leaves and going yellow if you don't water them in time. This one did actually drop maybe 3 or 4 lower leaves. They went yellow when I took it home, but apparently that's fairly normal for this plant. It has now stopped. It's just an adjustment thing, so if yours does that, then don't worry about it. It's just adjusting for being moved into your home. But I really do love this one. This is another Dieffenbachia here. I'm obsessed with Dieffenbachias at the moment. This one is the Dieffenbachia camilla, and you can see it has those light lime green coloured leaves, and I just thought that was really pretty. I love the way these grow. The kind of oval shapes of the leaves are so beautiful. And I'll just give you a view of it from this angle as well. It's best viewed from on top, I find. But these plants are really lovely if you want a bit of foliage. I know that sounds a bit obvious, but They're good foliage plants if you fancy filling a gap with lots of lovely full leaves. These ones are really good, I find. And they're actually not too difficult to take care of, providing you keep them moist. Give them some food and plenty of light. And so far I've found them to be fairly easy. Both of my Dieffenbachs are plants that I do keep an eye on a little more than some of my other plants that are less diva-ish, so I just make sure that they do not dry out ever. And so far that tactic is paying off. And then just under there on my lower shelf you can see I have another pothos. This was a propagation from last year. There's lots of cuttings in there, and yeah, that's just doing its thing. Again, pothos is a classic plant. I won't spend too much time on this because, as I say, I do have quite a lot of these around, but they are really nice plants. You can put them pretty much anywhere in your home, and yeah, they're just good staple plants for the background. They add a nice bit of foliage, and if you have a little corner where you don't get a huge amount of light, this will survive, although it will become a little bit more leggy with smaller leaves if you put it in a darker spot, but they are survivors, these ones. Next up is my silver sword philodendron, and this was a wishlist plant. You can see it has these beautiful silvery blue leaves, and I just love the colour of this plant. These do eventually mature into kind of sword shapes. You can kind of see on that top one there, it's sort of starting to lobe out there, but this is still fairly juvenile, this plant, so it's not in its mature form yet. But the exciting thing is I get to watch it to mature in my care, which I am really looking forward to. And it has just such beautiful foliage, this one. It does have new leaves coming in. You can see there's one there, another one up here at the top, and yeah, it does seem to be very happy. I haven't actually been in the pot to see what's going on with the roots yet. I should do that at some point, just to make sure there's nothing going on in there like netting or anything like that. But at the moment it seems happy, and yeah, this is definitely one of my favourite plants. I'm very much looking forward to seeing this one mature, seeing those sword-like leaves come out. Yeah, this is a big wish list plant for me, ticked off the list. Oh, and up here on this shelf I have this little bunny ears cactus. Really cute. I really do like this one. It's a fun little cactus. I've got it up there because it tends to get those spines attached to whatever it's next to, so I've got it up here kind of on the naughty step so that it can't put spines in my other plants, because I did have it next to my jade plant and I kept finding little spines in my jade plant, and yeah, I didn't really like that, so I popped it up here on its own where it's not going to cause any trouble. But I really do love this plant. It's such a cool one, the way it grows. And yeah, he seems pretty happy up there. And this is a Philodendron Brazil, and this one I've only just put onto its support poles, so it's looking a little bit pathetic at the moment, but it's best to get these plants on their support pole whilst they're small, I find, because I've tried to wrestle mature plants onto poles already and it is quite hard work, so I thought I would be prepared and get this one on its pole whilst it's still small. And there are several plants around the pole too, if I turn it around. But yeah, it's just a case of being patient really and waiting for this plant to grow. I am kind of in two minds whether I want it to grow up or whether I want it to be a trading plant, but now that I've got it on here, I think I'm just going to leave it on there and let it do its thing. And it's a little bit covered in soil at the moment because I did actually accidentally knock it over the other day, and I haven't dusted the soil off yet. Soil went everywhere. But yeah, this is a really gorgeous plant. I really enjoy the variegation on the leaves of this one. Not only that, but also the heart shape of the leaves. It's so pretty. And if I just be patient, eventually it will be growing up this pole. And it'll be interesting actually to come back to this plant in, say, 12 months' time, and we'll see what its progress is. That will be fun. So yeah, consider this the before shot, and then we shall see how it looks in a year's time. That'll be exciting. This is my Syngonium white butterfly. I recently put this one on a support pole because Syngoniums can be quite messy. That's just part of the plant really, you can't really do much about it. However, by giving it a pole to grow onto, I'm helping it to kind of be a little bit tidier. Not much tidier because, as I say, this is just a messy plant. It's part of the plant's makeup, and I have taken quite a few cuttings from this one. And when you take cuttings from this plant, it does of course grow back even stronger. It encourages growth, so this mother plant will be growing even more, and it is growing lots of new leaves at the moment. You see one there, but this one basically never stops putting out leaves. Even in the winter time I get new growth from this one. It's just a really pretty plant. I definitely want to get more Syngoniums in my collection, particularly the pink one I'm after. I'd love to get a pink Syngonium. But yeah, if you want this plant to stay upright, you really have to kind of chop it on a regular basis, because eventually, as you can see just here, it does start to vine, and the vines do get very heavy, hence why I've popped this one on a pole. I don't mind that it's a bit messy. That's just what it's doing. That's fine, I'm fine with it. The other kind of Syngonium I'd love is a Syngonium albo. Would love to get one of those as well. Those are wishlist plants though. This one is the common variety that you'll find everywhere, and this one is just lovely. So it's been a really good introduction to Syngoniums for me. Just over here in this corner I have this rubber plant. This is the Ficus elastica Melanie. I recently gave this one the chop, took a load of cuttings from it, because it hadn't really been growing very well, so I thought that might stimulate it. I think I'm also going to check it for repotting as well. See if it needs repotting, but it's just there sort of waiting to grow back. And it should come out with more branches. This one, I bought this one already branched. So yeah, we'll see what this one does over the coming months as it grows back from its chop. But yeah, classic rubber plant. You can't go wrong with a rubber plant really. Over here I have a Philodendron Birkin, and this one's just here kind of recovering because it has also just been chopped. I chopped and propped this one, so I'm just waiting for it to grow back. Same goes for this Aglaonema over here. That one also recently got the chop, so these two are just kind of hanging out. Looking a little bit ugly at the moment, if we're honest, but that's how it is when you give a plant the chop. It might look a little bit ugly to start with, but they're just there. They will eventually grow back and it will be just fine. Then over here we have some propagations, some jade plants, a little Stapelia here. This little wet stick in here is from my Syngonium tricolour. I thought I might as well have a go and see if I can grow that out. A rubber plant cutting over here, and a whole bunch of propagations here. I won't go through them individually because I did do a propagation tour, but lots of propagations there, and then another load of propagations over here. And I will link my propagation tour in the description if you're interested in a bit more of an in-depth look of my propagations, but there's a quick look for you. This is just another rubber plant. This is the Ficus robusta, and again this one has just had the chop, so it's just kind of waiting for its growth to grow back in. We should see some new branches at those points where I've cut. And I cut this one because it's looking a bit lanky on the lower region of it, and I just wanted to encourage it to grow more bushy, but it will eventually grow back in again. We'll take a look at this one in 12 months time and we'll do a before and after, and I'm sure it will look lovely eventually, but right now, yeah, it's just looking a little bit sad, waiting for its growth to come back in. It is healthy though, it's a healthy plant. It just needs to get a bit more bushy, and my plan is also to plant it back in the pot with the propagation, so eventually I shall have a fuller plant here. Here is yet another pothos. This is another cutting that I took and put onto a pole, and it has lots and lots of cuttings all around. Eventually they will all start to grow up the pole. At the moment we've just got the one vine. That was a slightly longer cutting that I took, that's why it's a bit more advanced than the others. But yeah, yet another pothos. As I say, I do have quite a lot of these, so I shan't spend too much time on this one, but it is kind of cool to see them grow because they do all grow differently. They all get different leaves and they grow in different fashions, so it's quite cool to have several different ones. Here I have a peace lily, and this one is doing really well. It started putting out new leaves this year, and I recently just repotted this one too. Peace lily is another one of those classic staples in anyone's collection. These can get quite big. This one's still fairly small at the moment, but it is growing and it's looking very healthy. So again, it will be interesting to see this one this time next year and see how much it's flourished. Hopefully it will have had a little glow up for us, so do stay tuned. Here I have a corn plant. This one has 3 stems, and again this one is one of these survivors of the plant world. It really is so hardy. I have mine in a really dark spot in my home and it still grows. They do get quite bushy, they just keep growing leaf after leaf, and this one is, as I say, definitely one of the unsung heroes of the plant world. It's one of those plants that no one ever really notices. It's kind of in the background and it's just really easy and you don't really have to think about it too much. But I do think it's a really good plant to have, especially if you want a plant that is going to give you no trouble. It's nice to have some plants that don't need a huge amount of attention. It does keep the workload down if you have a few that are not too needy. This is definitely one of those plants for me. I do think they are very underrated. Just a really nice plant. Up here we've got a spider plant, and this is the solid green version. I've had this one for a few years now. This one just hangs in the kitchen. This is my only remaining spider plant. All my other spider plants died, unfortunately. I don't know what happened. They were doing really well until one day they all just died. But this one's doing well. Then over here on top of my freezer I have a teacup plant. Next to that is a crocodile fern. These two are quite happy here in the kitchen. They get a little bit of humidity when we cook, which is nice. I've had both these for a little while now. They're both pretty easy to care for. In the bathroom here I have this zebra plant, and this one has actually been through a little bit of a journey. It did lose all of its lower leaves, because if you water this plant even a second later than it wants, it will drop all of its leaves. However, all this growth on the top you see here, this is all new growth. So what I did was I chopped this plant back and just took off all those dead leaves, those lower leaves, and it's growing back beautifully. So I'm really happy about that, because I really do like this plant. The key to keeping this one happy is never let it dry out, keep it moist. And I tend to be a person who lets most of my plants dry out, and with this one you have to throw out that rule book a little bit, and this one just wants to stay moist all the time. So don't ever let this plant dry out if you do have one. I learnt that the hard way, but hopefully now with all this beautiful new growth I will keep this plant healthy. Over on this shelf I have a blue star fern, and I've had this one for quite some time. It's very happy here in the bathroom. It gets a little bit of humidity when we use the shower, and yeah, it's just a really easy care fern. It is a little bit more forgiving if you forget to water it than other ferns. I have let mine dry out accidentally a couple of times and it's just fine, and it's got these really cool shaped fronds which I really like. Yeah, I really like having this one in the bathroom. And it does get a shower from time to time too, because it can get quite dusty, so it does enjoy a shower. This is one of my jade plants. Recently took some cuttings from this one in order to propagate from it. And you can see this one has quite thick stems. And a great way of getting these thick stems is to propagate your plant by snipping bits off the top, and what happens is when you do that, the trunk underneath where you snipped tends to get thicker. And I just repeat this process every year, and each time I get more branches. You can see there where I've made a cut. I've made several cuts on this plant, and it's a really fun plant to propagate. The cuttings root really easily. Yeah, eventually I shall grow this plant into a sort of tree-like form. Just got to keep on chopping it year after year, and it will continue to grow bigger and bigger. This is one of the first plants that I ever got, so yeah, I'm quite attached to this one, because I've seen it grow from a tiny little baby to the size it is now. This is another succulent. This one is called a Stapelia, and I quite like the way this one grows up vertically. I did also take a couple of cuttings from this one as well, and this one is very new to me. I bought it quite small, but it is growing, especially you can see this one's got a bit taller, and they've definitely grown taller in the time that I've got them. But I do really like this plant. This is another type of jade plant. This is the jade golem. And this one always reminds me of coral. It is a nice succulent. The only problem with this is it does tend to be quite susceptible to mealybugs. You can see they've got lots of places to hide in there. So I do examine this one on a regular basis, and I just go in there with some rubbing alcohol on a swab and just make sure I take care of them as they turn up, and that seems to do the trick. But it's quite a nice form, this one. As I say, it kind of reminds me of coral. But yeah, it's just another type of jade plant, so you just care for this one in the same way you would the normal jade plant, and you can also propagate it in the same way too. I have taken a few cuttings from this one last year. I think I may leave it this year though. This one here is another succulent. It's a type of echeveria, and this is the only type of echeveria I can keep alive. I've tried to keep some of the other varieties alive, but I guess this one has more sort of firm leaves, but this one seems to do really well in my care, so I'm really happy about that. And it has this lovely rosette look to it, which is really cool. Such a nice green too, a really light green. Really like this one, and never had any problems with this one. It never gets mealybugs or anything. It's just a pretty low maintenance succulent, so yeah, I'd highly recommend this, especially if you don't have much success with the other types of echeverias, you know, the purple ones, and they come in different colours, but I've never had success with those. But this one I'm okay with. I think because I don't have enough sun here for the other type, because succulents do need a lot of sun, so maybe this one's a better one for indoors. This one here is another type of succulent. I can't actually remember what it's called. I can never remember the name of this one, but I shall put it up on screen for you. And I did propagate this one last year. You can see there where I took a cut, and then you've got these two branches growing out of it. But this is a really cool succulent. I like the sort of sheen that the leaves have. I'm not sure if it picks up on camera, but they kind of have a bit of a silvery fuzz on them. It's got quite fleshy leaves. And yeah, this one's doing pretty well. Looking forward to seeing it grow a bit more this year and see what it does. Those two little branches that it's got there are just so cute, aren't they? Just so tiny and cute. But yeah, really like this one. Got it in this cute little cat planter. This is an aloe vera, and I got this one as a tiny pup, just kind of as big as one of these little pups in the soil there. And it's grown into this so far, and this one is having pups of its own, as you can see. It has quite a few of them in there. It's doing really well. Aloe vera is a really easy plant to grow and a fast grower, as you can see. You can take these pups out of the soil and make new plants out of them, but I'm going to be leaving them in there because I'm looking to get a full aloe plant. And they do get quite big and they take up quite a lot of space, so you do need a bit of space for this one. But it's definitely been fun to watch this one grow from a pup, and it is going crazy, as you can see. So this year I'm sure we're going to get lots more growth out of it. Really good staple plant, the aloe vera. It likes lots of sun and it likes to dry out completely between watering. And it's pretty unfussy, really. Over here in the bedroom I have a maranta, and I recently chopped up this maranta to make some propagations, so it's looking a little bit smaller than it usually would. But eventually I'm going to be adding the cuttings back into the pot, so we will have an even fuller maranta. But yeah, this one is a really fast grower, and I fancied having an even fuller pot of it. Even though it was growing really well, I'd like to add some more plants into the soil there, so we have a much bigger plant. But Maranta is a classic. Really do love this plant. Those patterns are so gorgeous on it. Then just here I have my Monstera deliciosa. And I recently chopped and propped this so that I can add some more plants back into the pot. You may have seen that video, but this one is just hanging out here in the bedroom, doing its thing, and hopefully it will start to grow back where I've cut it soon. But yeah, Monstera deliciosa, pretty staple really, a staple plant. Lots of people have them, really easy to care for. And then over here on my bedside table we have the variegated peace lily, and this one is definitely one of my favourites at the moment. I just love the variegation on this plant, it's so pretty. This one does need a repot, so I need to get on that at some point. It is putting out new leaves at the moment, so that's really good. But I will get on that repot because we want it to be able to grow to its full potential. And the variegation on this one really is beautiful, I just love it. Very easy to care for too, just like the ordinary peace lily really. I think he is some sort of Haworthia or aloe, I'm not entirely sure. Bought him without a label on, so who knows what he is, but I think he's cute. Then over here I have an umbrella plant. This one is growing really well at the moment. And you can see if I go up here, it has all these super cute little baby leaves coming out, and they just come out as perfect fully formed little miniature versions of the big ones, and they've got a bit of a red tinge too, and I think that's super cute. I love how it does all that. I love how it makes its new leaves, and you can see if I get in a little bit closer, and you can see there it's got loads of new leaves coming out, a huge cluster of them. And I've had this umbrella plant since it was very tiny, so it's grown a lot in the time I've had it, and I really do love this plant. It's very common, but it's also one of my favourites. It's a classic. It's kind of starting to lean a bit, but I quite like that. I'm quite looking forward to it getting kind of leany and leggy. Depends what you like, but I do really like that, so I'm okay with it getting a little bit leany. But yeah, I really do love this plant. Then over on this plant here we have a few plants. Over here is the snake plant. Again, another classic. Love a snake plant. This one's really pretty. It's got a really nice form the way it's growing. And then over here we have a cactus. I can never remember whether this is the Easter cactus, the Christmas cactus, or the Thanksgiving cactus. I have no idea, but it's one of those. And yeah, this one's growing really well, as you can see. I love the way it cascades. I would like to put this in a hanging basket, but the problem is every time I need to get it out for watering, bits fall off, so I obviously don't want to damage the plant, so I've got it in here so that I don't damage it. And then over here we've just got Anthurium clarinervium. It's got a big leaf up there as well. That one grew up a bit leggy because it was in a lower light area, but where it is now it's got more light and hopefully it should start to grow some more leaves. It's being a bit stubborn at the moment and it's not growing any new leaves, but I'm sure it will very soon. It does have a new little leaf on the way in there, you can just see it there sticking up, but we will have to be patient and wait for that. But this is one of my favourite plants, I really do love this plant. Just like to have a few more leaves on it, please. And this is a dragon tree. Really easy to care for plant, this one. One of those old classics. It's one of those staple plants that just always survives, which we like. This is one of those plants that I could just kind of leave to do its thing and give it some water now and again. I do let this one dry out completely between watering. It has these lovely woody stems there. But yeah, basically I kind of treat this plant like a succulent because I believe it is a sort of succulent or semi-succulent, but definitely it likes to dry out completely and doesn't like to be in direct sun, but it does like bright indirect light, and you can see it kind of has the red margins on the leaves, which is really nice. I think that's really pretty. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, see you next time.